But without further ado, I want to introduce Paul Martin, who is the moderator of this session. Paul Martin works for Eventer. I bet you can introduce yourself in a second. But the first session on this stage is building the bus before your event. So it's about how to get your attendees going before they even arrive. So over to you guys.
Thanks very much. Good morning all, and yes, thanks very much for everybody getting themselves out of bed early. It's, you know, the first session, the first day, it's really tough, and we're really pleased to see a really great turnout. So you guys are, I guess, indicative of what we're really talking about is how do you get people invigorated in coming to your event before they even get there. You know, the fact that you're here now, there was something that drove you here today, and so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And one of the things that I guess quite often we don't think about as event planners is that lead up to our, and I can hear some feedback in my headset, but anyway, sorry, is that lead up to our event and when we're promoting it, how far out we're promoting it. And the question is, why do we not promote these things further in advance? So what we're really going to do in the next 45 minutes, and we're going to probably spend about 35, 40 minutes on our session and then allow everybody to ask questions. But today we're going to go through some real key points of the first connection, then working in the path to engagement, how you actually get people going, building that buzz, and then leaving those memories. And leaving the memories, of course, is a post-fact thing. It's not really bringing them into the event, but it's going to bring them back to your event. And this is what we're really trying to talk about today. So, with me here today, many of you will know Neil Thompson from Delegate Wranglers. Thanks for joining me, Neil.
Hello, Paul.
So, Neil, of course, has built great online communities. Many of you are probably members of Delegate Wranglers. And in recent times, Neil's really demonstrated how you can build a buzz around your event without people actually being there, before they even get there, before they even think about leaving for the event. And that's what we're going to delve into today. But before we do, just whilst everybody's taking their seats, we have a bit of a technical hiccup here today, apparently. We haven't got a polling app at the minute, so we're going to go old school, and we're going to go a bit of show of hands. So, what we want to know is how many of you really think about building engagement before your event. And what I mean by this, we all know about sending an email out to attendees and so on and saying, hey, our event's coming up. How many of you really think about building a strategy around getting people to your events well in advance? Let's say 2 months, 16 weeks, 2 months, or 4 weeks. Show of hands. That's a percentage of the room. That's not bad, Neil. Yeah?
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah. All right. So, again, because we don't have technology, we're sort of a bit of a slide adrift here. But what we're going to look at to start us off today is how Neil and Delegate Wranglers built an event and how they got everybody just after COVID, when we were really thinking about how do we reignite the industry, how do we get people to our events and get them there well in advance and get them buzzing before they get there.
We've got our sunshine, we've got our drinks, we've got our food, and we have like a beautiful evening in store.
Feels really nice, the vibe's just really nice. It's nice to have the summer feeling and everybody's getting together. It's nice.
If I was to sum it up, it'd be colourful, fun and friendly.
The Spirit Awards awarded to members who exemplify the positive values that define the Delegate Wranglers.
I've got to say that these sort of things, everyone wanted the sort of personal, in-person touch, and this is great, and a fantastic setting and great weather as well, which is tremendous.
Later on, we go down below into our rave cave. That's where the shenanigans really kick off.
I would love to now please introduce to you the founder of the Delegate Wranglers, Neil Thompson!
Come here, have a good time, see those people, meet new friends, meet old friends, And yeah, I think we've absolutely smashed it.
I tell you what, Paul, I can't tell you how many times I checked the weather in the lead up to that event, guys. About 1,000 million times.
I'm sure it still brings a smile to your face, though.
Oh, do you know what? It seems like yesterday, doesn't it, when that happened?
It does, absolutely. And it was only last year, so it wasn't that long ago. But what we're now going to really dig into is how did they do it? So in that video, and short video as it was, what we're really trying to get across to everyone is that there was so much build-up in the prequel to the event. Now, okay, this event wasn't a typical congress or conference, but you can use the same principles and same tools to be able to build that engagement well in advance. So Neil, let's dig into, how did you do it? Let's talk about the concept. Let's talk about what happened to plan the event and, what was the thinking behind it?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Well, we wanted to put on an event that would reconnect the industry. So reconnect the events industry. There was no other agenda other than people to come, have a good time, fun and friendly. It wasn't like a networking event, although, everybody did network, but mostly people had fun. Now, I don't know about, is there a lot of event organisers here? Any event organisers? Putting on an event for the event industry is a tricky thing. So it was kind of like, challenge accepted. I'm going to try and do this. But it was all about a good time, reward people for getting through COVID 2 years. We've had a nightmare 2 years, and that's all it was about. We felt like the industry needed it, and then we just took on the challenge and, we started planning it probably around the start of the year, about February. And the event was in June.
And so when you started thinking about it, though, what did you really look at to employ, and what strategies did you look to employ to really connect with people that far in advance?
Well, we were on the Facebook. We're partners with Facebook, and we actually won a place on the Accelerator program. So one of the things that we needed to do as part of it was to put on an initiative for your community. So we absolutely wanted to do it, and then what we got it fixed in our mind, we secured a venue, worked with, that was Tobacco Dock, Skylight at Tobacco Dock. If anyone's not been there, it's amazing, good fun. And we always wanted to do, at Delegate Wranglers, we always want to do something different. We always want to do just not the normal thing. So after 20 years of being an event organizer, we wanted to make sure that we could do it differently and do it with a longer run into the event and with more playful. One of the things we wanted to make it was playful and fun and engaging. Now, I don't know about you, but 99.9% of the events that I've worked on, I come from a background of like 20 years as an event manager. So I'm going to write it down and make a list here. First of all, you promote the event. Then you register for the event. Then you sometimes send them the odd email. Then you would send out pre-departure or joining instructions, deliver the event, and then afterwards you would tell them what you've told them, what they saw at the event. And we wanted to do something differently and shake that up. So we wanted to start the event earlier with a lot more engagement. One of the main things we wanted to do was turn up the volume on the promotion of the event from early doors, create a real buzz about what was coming, and then specifically reach out to them with like targeted messaging. But most of all, our biggest kind of criteria was to create FOMO. We wanted to create FOMO for everybody who was seeing things like, oh my God, that sounds great. So we're going to talk about what we did in a second, but that was kind of our feeling behind it.
And I guess, one of the key parts of that is building a plan. It sounds really elementary, but so many events start off and they don't have a plan of promotion, and they certainly don't think about a plan of pre-promotion. So again, as I started earlier on and said, how many of you actually send out an email or something like that? That in many cases is the limitation of what our marketing strategy is in pre-promotion. We allow the event itself to become the buzz, and when we walk through the door, a bit like now, we're all hearing the noise around us, and we're allowing the environment to create that invigoration. But what we're not thinking about early enough is how do we start to build this early on? So that's that plan, that's that strategy. And like I said, it seems like an elementary thing, but it's something we need to consider. And I guess the other thing that brings us into is, with your plan, what was the audience that you were trying to engage, and how were you trying to engage them? Aside of social and so on, what mechanisms were you using to engage them early on?
Well, we are quite lucky. We've got a group. Our community is over 20,000, so we can shout quite loudly about what we're doing. But I've got this saying, Paul, that quite rightly we all agree that content is king, but engagement is queen. You've got to engage. You can have content, and people can take that information and retain that information. But engagement is what makes people feel something. And the most memorable events that we've all been to are ones where we've really had fun or we've really felt some kind of emotion. You'll come away from talks and discussions, and you'll probably come away from this one and retain some of the information, but the best ones are the ones that really make you feel it. So that was something that we wanted to do. I think a lot of events are purely factual, and they're all about getting that information across, but we wanted to create memories, which is what we wanted to do. And you can apply that to any type of meeting. I know we were having a party. You can apply this to any type of meeting. You can do it by way of choosing an amazing location, having an amazing act or something that really blows people's minds. And this is things that you can actually do at the event. But we wanted to do something before the event to even start it there. So, and I'm going to come on to it again in a second, but we wanted to create, I'll tell you how we did it. We created a private Facebook group for attendees of the event. So everybody who registered for the event, and it was a paid event, you then got an invitation to join a private Wranglers Fest Facebook group. Did anybody actually come to Wranglers Fest in here? Were you in the group? Were you in the Facebook group? Did you join the Facebook group as well? So we created this Facebook group, and we started doing things like we got the host, Chrissy, the Australian lady there, who's amazing, by the way, to do like a welcome video. So when people landed on it, they saw this video that said, "Hi, welcome to this," and blah, blah, blah. We created all kinds of teaser videos as well about what was coming. And we started a social media campaign, with countdowns, etc., things like that, so that we could really create a buzz. Then we started working with Eventure as well, who were our registration partners for the event. And then we started this discussion about maybe we could do an app, and maybe we could do some kind of gamification. But I know we're going to come on to that, and that scary word, gamification, Paul.
Everybody loves that word, don't they? It's met with mixed reaction, and I'm sure this room have their own opinions on gamification, but we will come to that shortly.
Yeah. So what we did in the group was we started like a promotion strategy, and we tried to think differently. So there was a lot of people coming to the party on their own. Now, it's okay if you come to an event like this on your own, because you can walk around and do your own thing. But if you come to a party on your own, it's a bit weird. So we kind of thought, well, we've got partners, well-being partners called Stress Matters. And what we did was we come up with a scheme of, well, it's quite simple, meet in the pub beforehand. So round the corner, we set up a meeting for everybody. If you wanted to come on your own, you could come to this. Stress Matters bought you a drink. Good reason to go. And then they all came over as a group, and they'd already started talking. So we kind of communicated that kind of thing in the group. We did things with all the suppliers who were putting on all the fun things at the event that you saw there. We got them to do promotional videos and promote themselves and start the buzz for them so that they got something more back from it as well. We were giving travel and weather advice. Believe me, I was putting weather updates all the time. We did like a random acts of kindness thing. So when people arrived in, I think it was 5 or 6 registrations when they arrived, we basically put like a Willy Wonka type golden ticket in, so they got some free promotion, like an insider newsletter ad or something like that to help them. So we kind of tried to make it fun and playful, so that why would you not want to go and come to this event, because it's all these things. And then we did like a gratitude wall at the event as well, which was really, which was fun. And so we could set all this up. The point I'm trying to say is, we didn't just wait till the event and did this. We set it all up before. The only way of putting it is, like a tennis player wouldn't come to a tennis match without hitting a ball. They'd warm up before. So why don't you warm up your audience before? Otherwise, you're just telling them to get there and then, right, have fun or listen to this conference. You've not told them anything before. You might have told them the odd marketing message from one of your sponsors or something. But be playful with them and create that, break down those barriers. I think that's what it was. It was all about being fun, breaking down those barriers beforehand.
And I think, that being playful, make it fun. Again, many conference organisers turn around and their immediate mindset is, yeah, but I'm working with an association committee and they're scientists, and hope there's no scientists or lawyers or anybody like that in the room. Certainly not to cast aspersions on any of them. But, you know, I've been working, as is Neil, in the events industry, the conferencing industry for almost 25 years. And I've been to so many conferences in academia, science, engineering, law, and many of them are relatively staid, you know, and the event planners are dealing with those association organisers, and the association organisers are the ones that are really driving the agenda, saying, no, our members won't like that. But what you actually find is that if you do turn it up a bit, if you do make it fun, if you do engage the audience, actually the audience, particularly with a more youthful shift that we're now seeing, they are now starting to want and yearn for that engagement and that fun.
Yeah, you know, don't wait for the first coffee break until people have met each other. What we did was we using the app and using gamification on the Facebook group, we encourage people to get to know each other. And I don't mean that in a cheesy way, get to know each other, but they engaged in the app and then they started like trying to win things in the app and started, you know, buzzing off each other. So they actually knew each other before. Somebody had said something, then somebody would comment on it. So people got to know each other before, and it really warmed up the audience, to be honest, Paul.
Quick question on the back of that, actually. In coming to this event today, how many people went down to the app to look for who else was coming and potentially how you might be able to connect? A few, a couple, yeah, okay. But there's probably a great indication of our challenge is that there's a handful of people that are coming to an event like this. We're really then making our engagement on site. We're not considering it too far in advance. And that's one of the real key things about if we're going to make our events really successful, not just for the attendees and building that experience, but for the actual clients, we need to get everybody engaged far, far earlier on.
Yeah, you know, and the biggest way to have people know about you and what you do and make your networking easy is to be authentic. So if you're authentic in comments and things, like in our group, we've got some people, the point of the Delegate Wranglers, for anybody who doesn't know, is people put inquiries on and then other people respond and help them and say, well, I've worked with this company, you can do that. Or suppliers can say, we can help you. But we've got people who help everybody all the time, and they're the one who everybody knows, and they're the one who people walked up to and go, oh, I saw your comment. Oh, I love what you said about that, or blah, blah, blah. So what we're trying to say is we gave them people a platform to do that. All we did was encourage them with, we're going to get to this in a second, but we encouraged them with ways to get involved and make some fun things.
Absolutely, we will get to that. And before we do, though, let's just talk a little bit about, as we've got here, breaking down barriers. So again, we've talked about engaging the audience, we've talked about getting to them early on, but some of the biggest challenges that we have in engaging our audiences, either pre the event or at the event, is that reluctance to engage. And I guess, Neil, what are some of the ways that you found, particularly not just with Wranglerfest, but through Delegate Wranglers, that you found really does open up the audience and engages them to get rid of those barriers and connect more?
Yeah, well, as I say, I think one of the things is being authentic. So if you can give people an opportunity to be authentic and to be fun. So we're going to come to it in a second, but we did things like, we did create your Wranglers Fest party name, like a name generator, your first letter, your number of your month that you were born. We made all these fun things. And suddenly people were really open and just being authentic and laughing at each other and got to know each other. But I think being authentic is one of the biggest things. We learned from Meta or Facebook about the way they put on some of their events for us as well. Some of the partners like us get invited to a thing called the Community Summit, Global Community Summit. And they do this amazingly well. They create Facebook groups. Well, they are Facebook after all. They create Facebook groups, and then within that, though, they'll have discussions. Within Facebook groups, you can create a discussion. I could host it, and you guys could all dial in and talking it. So lots of things like that. But I think being authentic, being friendly, and being open, these are the things, and that's exactly what we wanted to do with Wranglers Fest.
And we'll come back to the whole meta influence a little bit later on, but in terms of, again, breaking down those barriers, I think it also comes down to how you provide a medium to be able to connect people. You know, we've all been in that space where, and in the events industry, we're a little bit more open, but we've all been in that space where you go to an event, you know, you're standing in the corner of the room with a glass of wine and you're waiting for somebody to
The networking lounge.
That's the one, the networking lounge, exactly. And you're waiting for, you know, the right opportunity to walk up to somebody or for them to walk up to you. And it can be a bit of a daunting moment in time.
You guys go there and network.
That's right.
It's the hardest
exactly.
thing, isn't it? You know, this is a network in 10 minutes you've got. It's really, really difficult. So I think we've got to work harder to give people to just naturally let that happen.
Yeah. But it's also creating the ability or a platform for you to have those connections in advance. And when we look in a moment at the way that technology can do that, I'm sure you've used some of this before, but you know, Facebook and what social media does is a great medium, but there are other tools that we can employ as well in the industry. Okay, so that then leads us on to what tools can we then use, and we'll talk about a little bit about some of the tools that you then used at Wranglerfest. So let's, excuse me, let's start with social media. You know, obviously the Delegate Wranglers is a social media community. Let's talk about how you use social media to really connect with people way out in advance.
Well, first of all, we kind of let them know something was coming. So, guys, we've got a big secret coming. There's something amazing coming. Can't wait to tell you about it. And then everybody was saying, oh, you tease and all this kind of stuff. So we teased them into it. We did a countdown from, I think it was like 100 days out. We started doing a countdown with it. We created a branding for the events. We worked with Eventer to brand our registration page as well. Came up with an app that was all heavily branded in this kind of pink colour as well. We got a lot of partners involved as well and sponsors. So that was really good. And then it just gave us the opportunity to connect and tease people into it. Tease them with really vague things first and just get it stronger and stronger and stronger. But you really need to have a strategy that works backwards. So that you, I mean, I'm not teaching anyone to suck eggs out. We all know this, but really use all your social media channels. I don't think you can do enough of it, but it's just the way you do it and the things you say and how you say it. Most of all, tone of voice is the biggest thing. If you set from the start that you're playful and this is going to be a fun and informative event, you're going to love it. People are going to be intrigued by that.
Absolutely. And I think, again, we're trying to really give you a broad view of the fact this could work for any type of event. It doesn't need to be getting people together at, you know, a nice venue for drinks and a meal or anything like that. It could be any type of conference or event. And so it's really important to look at the fundamentals of how this works. I guess also, Neil, when you talk about social media and the broad plethora of social media available now, when we then hone that into a conference environment, how do you then go about building a conference social media presence? And I'm throwing you on the spot here a little bit.
Yeah, you know, that's a tricky one. I mean, obviously, the basic one that everybody knows is create hashtags. Create a hashtag, but start doing it really early. Because the more that you do it, the more it will be out there and people will understand it. But use that hashtag with other hashtags like hashtag event profs and things like that as well. So that if people search on that, they'll find this as well. So definitely hashtags is a big thing. Consistency, have a plan. Don't just say, should we put another one up? Oh, okay. Have a plan. You know, I'm sure a lot of people here are either social media managers or work with social media managers or aware of the concept. I couldn't advise it more. You know, get somebody to do that for you. Get an expert to tell you what is good. We've got a social media team as well. So we really developed this whole broad strategy. And then on the event with the app, we were allowed. I know we're going to talk about the. I keep saying this. We're going to talk about the app in a second. But there's like a wall facility on there, isn't there, Paul, as well? So people could post up pictures on that wall. But with the Facebook group, we encourage people to post photos on there before, during, and after. So we've got a legacy as well. We haven't closed that group to those people, we've left it open. So we've got a legacy of that event that people can keep going back to and looking at, and it builds your brand as well and your brand presence. So it's all the tools that you can use, you know, and I mean all of them.
And I think it's a great point. The challenge with social media for many corporates in particular for a long time was that when in promotion of their events, they didn't really want it to go out on the mainstream social media channels. And I remember early on in social media, there was particular, and we won't name them, but there was particular high-profile CEO of a very high-profile corporate who got a photograph taken of a situation that he really shouldn't have been in or didn't want to be in, and it ended up on social media. And that was the beginning of the discussion in the conference industry about how do we use social media effectively to promote our events, but do it in a controllable way. Because at that point in time, Facebook was very, very new and they couldn't get the pictures down quickly. So the other option is, aside of using mainstream social media, is to use what I call closed circuit social media, which is provided by many platforms, including our own. So you can stand up like a social media platform that then connects to the broader social media platforms, and you can control the content far more effectively. So it means that if something does happen, if there's some sort of indiscretion that you want to control, you then have control of that content and you can protect it.
But not only that, you can take the best bits of it as a snippet and use it on the broader social media. So you can say, look what's going on inside our, and show them like some of the things, the competitions and things that we did. Creating FOMO, that honestly, I can't tell you, is a big thing. If you can create FOMO with people in that kind of, like the event organising, world, they'll all want to, if you can intrigue them and see these things that we were doing, like, some of the slides I think you're going to show in a second. Yep. This is what we did. We created these competitions and things for the app. And then we'd put little snippets outside of the closed group as well, so that we could generate the interest.
So social media is a channel, and both mainstream and private social media channels. Give them a voice. I really love this. I love what you did with this, and it was really including the audience. And again, we're trying to drive back to the fact that this could be used in any event. So talk to us a little bit about giving the audience a voice before they even got there. They really didn't even know what was going on.
No, so Eventer approached us and said, why don't you do some gamification? Now, has anybody done any gamification at their events? Yeah, so a few people. It's really difficult to get right, because you don't want people to be just running around doing the gamification things, but you want them to embellish what we did. And I remember talking to Paul and Andy and the team at Eventer and saying, well, how can we do that? And we came up with a great strategy. So what we did was we created the app. We put gamification aspects on it, and we must have, I think you guys said we probably did more than anybody's ever done.
Absolutely, yeah. It was really highly used, really highly engaged.
So what we did was we just created lots of challenges where you can win points. So it was kind of based on trust as well. I mean, people are not going to do this. They're going to.
You can't be the points police. Yeah. That doesn't work.
We're not the points police. But what we did was we put things on the group like this. What are you looking forward to about Wranglers Fest? You win 10 points if you comment below. So if you did that, you then went to the app, you found this question, and you said, yes, I've done it, and you give yourself 10 points. So we didn't police it, but we did lots and lots of challenges. I mean, have we got any more, Paul, on there that we can show? Yeah. Suggest the Wranglers Fest anthem. So we had lots and lots of engagement on that. I'm going to tell you some of the other things we did. Choose a cocktail. That's quite popular. Find your Wranglers Fest name, which I mentioned earlier. Caption competitions, blankety blank. I even did one where it was a picture of me with my hand in my pocket saying, what's Neil got in his pocket? Which got some really crude answers, as I'm sure you can imagine. But we posted up, what we would do is we would post up a leaderboard, and people could see who was winning. Now, this wasn't just to see who could win Wranglers Fest. What we did was, and I've got to credit Andy and Paul from Eventer for this idea, we got some merch done, branded merch done for the event. So as you got points, we then set up a merch stall at the party that you could redeem with your points. So 100 points got a t-shirt, 300 got a hoodie, hat, glasses. We had 5 or 6 things.
Those hats and hoodies have become immortalised. If you get one, they're worth good money now.
Still got a few left. But yeah, and people went crazy about it, and we gave like a grand win or something as well. People were ringing us up and emailing and saying, how have they got that many points? Why can't I get that many points? And you can only get the points once, can't you, for each challenge and things. Yeah. So we made it fun, and even at the event, we did things like a treasure hunt where you could find a barcode to scan, or you could go to a member of. One good thing you can do with your suppliers is, and this is another great idea from the guys. You can ask. One of the challenges you can do is go up to somebody from a supplier, let's say Eventer, and ask them something, introduce themselves to you, and you'll get 10 points. So, and it's a good way of them making a connection with suppliers that you might want to engage with as well. So we honestly, you name it, we employed everything, didn't we? We must have done 30 ways to earn points, I think, on the group.
Absolutely. And aside of actually coming up to people at the event, all of these gamification strategies could be employed well in advance of the event. So if you think about the likes of giving the audience a voice, involve them. It could be, I don't know, let's say we'll go back to a legal conference. Maybe it's getting the lawyers to, I don't know, come up with their favourite legal clause or something like that and put it in a competition. Ironically enough, they really do get engaged. We did an event with a group of stockbrokers some years ago, and the event planner told me point blank, gamification will never work. They won't buy onto it. They're not interested. And we launched the gamification program in advance of the event. They increased their attendance by 12%. And what really launched it, as Neil rightly said, was the leaderboard. And the leaderboard is actually visible on the app as well. So it's not, again, about attending the event and being the first view of the leaderboard. You could see it the whole way through in the lead up. And it was really interesting. And stockbrokers are competitive animals to begin with. But when we launched it, and it took a couple of weeks for people to latch on, but then there was a few early adopters. Once the leaderboard went up, it went completely mental, and we had stockbrokers going absolutely crazy to get their name on the top of the board in front of all of their peers. Absolutely astounding. So these are really serious people. Lawyers are very much the same. I've seen similar sort of circumstances and outcomes in legal conferences, but you have to have the right gamification strategy and have it out in advance. And
you also have to have a bit of patience as well. It's a bit like when me and Paul sat here, there was like 9:45, there was no one here.
That's right.
I was a bit worried.
We were a bit worried.
And then one person came, thank you. And then a few people came, and then more and more and more, and that's what you find with the gamification and the leaderboard. Once people start using it and start getting competitive, people want to have a go at that, and but I mean, you can dial it down to whatever level you want to do as well, depending on your conference. Like Paul says, if it's a conference for lawyers or something, they're not going to want to know the Wranglers, the kind of party name, or whatever. Or maybe they do. That's another conversation. But you can dial it down to whatever level you want. We dialed it to the max of max fun and max just trying to get people to enjoy themselves. But it really broke, the key thing of what Paul said is, it really broke down the barriers between people, because they would see each other on the group beforehand. They would see each other on the leaderboard. They would see each other on the app. They would see that picture of somebody in a hat, or whatever. We were trying to just warm people up. Like I said, we didn't wait until the coffee break. We got them to know each other and to engage with each other beforehand. And honestly, having done it successfully, I don't know why anybody wouldn't do this. Don't just send your join-in instructions and say, see you on Wednesday. That's it. You're missing a trick.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing to consider aside of gamification is how you use your content in advance. And in terms of your teasers and stuff like that, you guys were pushing out a lot of content in the social media channels in advance. But videos and all of those sorts of things, maybe they're from last year's event, previous event, or those types of things. You can push that out in advance and really use that as a driver. Or maybe it's interviews with your speakers, or those types of things.
Lots of things, guys. Create reels when you're going on your site inspections. Go on your site inspection and create a reel so you can control what you're putting out. Generate the buzz and say, can't wait, guys, we've got a secret. We've got something going on here. You might have a reveal or whatever for a party afterwards or something. Create the buzz before, use all these tools. Videos, behind the scenes thing. People love behind the scenes things. Love planning meeting. Is a behind the scenes planning meeting, blah, blah, blah. All these kind of tools that you could put in a community or a group or an app. I mean, you don't have to use a Facebook group. You could create an app and then start doing it early. Don't just say download the app when you get to here. Too many people do this. And it's fantastic while you're here to have an app and to be able to be push notifications and everything. Do it before, make it fun and engaging.
And I think this is the real thing, we keep going back to it. It's about investing in the before. We invest so much in building an event, in delivering an event. Why wouldn't you invest in the before to try and get people there, to build that invigoration and to build that excitement before they even get there, get them connected? Just circling back to one of the topics that you brought up before, you guys learned a lot from Meta about how they did it and what you then brought into your particular event. Can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Yeah, so as I said, we get invited to some internal Facebook community meetings and things. And what they do, they do it so well. You know, they will say the conference it was all online. So say it was starting at 6 o'clock in the evening. They would say it's going to be open from 3. And then at 3 o'clock they will have a DJ. Like I think they've had it here, haven't they? They'll have like a DJ doing stuff, and then they'll have questions on and people coming on and setting things. But that's just on the day. In the weeks before, they will have discussions. They will have chat with us about this, watch this presentation about this, learn how we're going to do this. Honestly, the buzz and the stream. Okay, there was about 1,000 people invited to this, but the stream of people. The excitement that grew, that people were like literally, all it was Facebook announcing some new things that they were going to do and interviewing people who they'd been working with. But the buzz, you'd think it was like, oh my God, it was some new phone that people were getting or something. It wasn't really, it was just a bit of information that Facebook would drip feeding, but they did it so cleverly that you couldn't help but get excited by it.
And it's the simple things that we learn from other industries. Again, I'll push back to the lawyers and the dentists and the doctors and things like that. There aren't too many conferences where we actually push out content, short interviews or maybe a quick synopsis of something that a high-level presenter is going to present in advance of the event. If we're pushing that out, say 2 weeks, 3 weeks before, 5 weeks before, it doesn't really matter. Depends on when you get availability to them. But driving that interest, driving your registrations, again, that in itself, just that little piece, is enough to have somebody say, "Hey, did you see that little piece on the site the other day? No, I'm not registered yet." "Oh, you should be." And that'll help to drive your enthusiasm and your revenue.
Yeah, can I ask a question to everybody? How many people run the conference and then send out clips and snippets of things afterwards? I guess, most people will do that and post it up and send out to the, either email it out to them or whatever, or put it on your social media. Not too many do it before. So, okay, some people will, but there's just, honestly, guys, there's so much so that we're starting a part of our business now to offer this service to people, to be able to engage with them and to be able to drive it and drive that kind of thing, because I think it's something that the event industry doesn't do well enough, and that's speaking from someone who's been in it for 20 years.
And I think that then leads us into the community. Once you then start to drive all of that pre-event engagement, you get people in, really connected, you're then starting to build your community. And once you've got your community as a pre-event tool, and this is a great shot from Wrangler Fest, you're then starting to build that collaborative conversation. You've got all of your walls broken down, or a large number of them, before you actually arrive on site. You've got people engaged, they're hankering to get through the door, and they're, although they might not have had a glass of wine up to this point because they haven't met, they're now looking for that social activity. They're looking for the first coffee break. They're looking for that first opportunity to interact with those people that they'd not met before.
Community is so important. Okay, I've got a vested interest in that. I run a community, but we were running our community since 2014. So we've got quite a bit of experience on it. And then when the pandemic happened, community became the buzzword that everybody wanted to be part of a community, because you feel inclusive. It's a place where you can be authentic. But believe me, that doesn't just happen. You have to create the vibe. You have to create that platform where people feel comfortable to be themselves, but to not be abusive and not to be on like a Twitter person, who rants and raves behind it, the Twitter name. When you're in a closed community like that, you've got to create this fun vibe, and that involves policing it a little bit and setting the tone, or just, in a friendly way. We do things like, just to remind everybody, this is a super inclusive community, positive vibes only. You do reminders like that to people. It creates that vibe. Now that's talking about, community, not just for an event, but a community in general that some of you may be looking after as well. Don't be backwards about coming forward. It's about setting the tone of your vibe, because you've really got to do that. It doesn't just happen.
Absolutely, no, it doesn't. Just in the last minutes that we've got, I don't know what's just happened there, but anyway. We've talked a little bit about, using apps and things like that. So, using social worlds, using apps, using all your content, create lasting memories. When you get that content collected from all of those different elements, all the pre-event, the on-site event, you can then go and build that into... if technology had worked. You could then go and build that into an album. And what that'll do is it'll collate it, so as at the end of your event, you can then create that bond with all of your attendees, so as they walk away saying, hey, that was amazing. We've actually had an event that wasn't 2 days, it was 2 weeks, 2 months, or however long you promoted it for. But I think, because we're running out of time, we'll open up the floor to questions and leave you with the thought from myself that, building your event from the outset is worth investing in. That's where you're going to get the value. Don't wait until you're on site. And Neil?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. You've got to put the effort in before, and you can create a much, much more event that people will feel. They won't just remember, they will feel. And that's what you really need to try and create, no matter what the content of the event.
Well, Neil and Paul, thank you so much. I was actually at this event that you've been talking about, and I remember it to this day. Maybe not some parts, because there was a lot
Definitely
of alcohol
not some parts,
involved.
I remember.
But it was a great event, and all that you talked about.
Would you go back?
Oh, of course,
There you go.
absolutely. I'll be there
There you
next
go.
year, that's for sure. So I'll start off with a question. Obviously, you talk a lot about the pre-event engagement and obviously post-event engagement, a lot of information. But that could also overwhelm attendees sometimes, I think, right? Because we get so much information. How do you find that balance, though?
With us, it was from experience. We run a community and we know how to promote events. We promote events regularly. Spot on. It's a really, really good point. You can overkill it. So I think it's just a matter of I mentioned it earlier, having a strategy. Don't just think, okay, you need to leave space to have ideas and things generate as you go along. But have a rough strategy in place and don't overwhelm people. It's a thin line. It is a really thin line. But I would say slightly go on the side of slightly over rather than slightly under. Because people can always ignore something. But honestly, I don't mean bombard them, because that has a complete reverse effect.
I think also it's just consistency and mix it up. Don't rely on email. Email, absolutely, we're all bored of. So maybe it is send a video or something like that, but mix it up, make it different.
It's about knowing your audience, right? Because, depending on the demographics, what they do, you can also tailor it accordingly, right?
Can I give you an example? Instagram, we used Instagram stories to put questions and things where you can have multiple choice things or sliders. So we would put things on there that were something that was in the group. What did you think of the last post in the group or something? So the people who were in the group could answer it, and the people who weren't wanted to know.
Yeah.
So then you would give them a link to find out more. So you can use it to not only do that, but engage people and also create FOMO so that other people join.
Well, very good answer. Any other questions from the audience? Oh, here we go. All right, so I'm going to run out here.
Yeah, my question was linked to yours and how, where to find the balance. But it's we do have all that strategy of having, a group, and we want to invite them and having challenges and so on to engage them before. My problem is to get them there. And that's where I'm struggling, because I don't know how many emails I can send them out. And we always have this small group of people. They're always there. They're really engaged. They're posting and so on. Where's the rest? And I cannot get them there before. Once they're there during the event, fantastic, but not before.
I think it comes down to content as well, trying to mix up what you're doing. So could I ask what the conference is about? Is it a business conference or is it business conference? So maybe make it a bit more playful. Do you do playful stuff in there? Do you try and create?
Yeah, we do. So we did goofy picture stuff, and then we did content related things, and it's just they're not on the platform to see that happening. So
yeah, I understand that. So what you got to do is use social media as well. Create that as much as you can, LinkedIn and things like that. Get some experts in to maybe just really think outside the box, I would say, Paul, as well.
Without the plug too much, we've just released a piece that we call Remote Attendee View. And think about Netflix. It's a bit like you log into it and it's a Netflix for your conference, and it has all the tidbits. It could be an interview with one of the presenters. It could be a marketing piece. It could be whatever. It could be a static piece of information. But they can get to it really simply. Make it quick to absorb, because people don't want to spend too much time on it.
Happy to chat, though, afterwards. Drop me a line.
Great. Any other questions? Sorry, I'm going to check around. Well, here we go. Sorry, my darling. I'll come around this way.
I just wanted to ask, with a demographic that isn't on social media. So for example, we organise business conferences and financial services. One of my brands works in pensions, and a large portion of our people, they are not on social media, they don't care about it, they don't engage with it. What's another way to build buzz then before an event? Because obviously as well, like you said, emails, people don't read them. Like, I mean, how many emails did everyone get for this event today that they just went, no, I'm okay?
Again, are you trying to encourage people to come to an event? Are you? Yeah. So I think, I hate to keep repeating this, but content, it's all about content and making that engagement and exciting for them. Because I guess for a financial services conference, it's not going to be the most exciting thing. So I think you've got to give people a reason to want to go. I think it's just like having we're going to have drinks and canapes afterwards. It's not good enough now. You've got to give them a reason to go. We're going to do something fun. It's going to be at an amazing venue, or it's going to be we're going to have some fantastic entertainment. You're going to learn something that will, use all these social media things. Do you want to learn something that's going to change your life? That kind of like playful, kind of interesting things and intriguing things. You've got to kind of hook them. I know I'm not teaching, I don't want to teach you to suck eggs, and I'm sure you try all these things. But it's all, honestly, I can't tell you, it's all about content and thinking differently, being super playful, maybe doing a strategy like we've done. We've created this group for you guys. We'd love you to join us. We're going to tell you some amazing things. You're going to get all this free content. And then on the back of that, oh, by the way, we've got a conference. That kind of thing.
I think the other thing is you've got to give them a reason. In those types of environments, you've got to give them a reason. There's got to be some reason for them to engage. Now, how you engage them, that's a different story, but it might be one email, and then that email might have an engagement point that then drives on to other participation points. It could be an online platform, it could be video, it could be an app, it could be other things, but it's that initial hook.
Something exclusive for them. As one of our things, this is the exclusive. You're exclusively being invited to this. We've handpicked some people. That kind of thing.
There's a show called the B&C Show. I'm not sure if some of you are aware of it, but they have all of these giveaways to the buyers, right? Gucci, like, I don't know, handbags, shoes, everything. And that works really well for that audience because it's traditionally more female events managers, right? So that's what they need to talk about. So I'm really sorry, guys. We have run out of time. Paul, Neil, you've been fantastic. Look at this. It was a crowded house, first session of the day. Thank you for starting us off. I'm sure they'll also stay on, and just if you have any questions, the audience can ask you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you.